Hey, Randy, how you doing? I guess you could hear me, no? I guess you had a couple gigs, you missed a couple lessons. Um, I'm going to be doing another drum pad lesson, and I'm going to try to keep doing drum pad lessons at 1 p.m. and drum set applications at 7. You okay with that? Okay. Anyway, I want to work a little bit more on the stick control book today. I'm not going to start the lesson. Uh, that's good for you, busy. When you coming to the East Coast, Randy? I'm going to, not start the lesson until we get a few more populated in the chat. Ed, only in the right channel. Are you serious? Both my channels are on. It has to be your end, Ed. Adjust your speakers. How about you, Randy? Could you hear me in both channels? Must be the cold weather, and it is cold out. All right. Last night, I did a drum pad lesson, and I did some half strokes and vamping patterns and accents, and I'm going to review that a little bit. How you doing, James? Tonight. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to go into the stick control book. Now, we got about 3 or 4 or 5 people in here. That's nice. Okay, we're going to go to, I need to loosen up because I was just outside and I am frozen. We're going to go to page, I believe, maybe 10. Yeah, let's go to page 10. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, come this one day this week, we're going to work with flams. We all familiar with flams? Well, James and, hey, Pete. Can you hear me well? Everybody's channels are working. Are you guys familiar with the flam? What a flam is? Because we're going to be hitting on that maybe tomorrow or Thursday. I haven't had time to put a PDF together. And we're going to do all the flam diddles. Free stroke flam, alternating flam, downstroke flam. And just to give you a little bit of, if you want, a little bit of heads up, if you go to page 5, okay, this is a good workout. But, you know, we need to understand what the alternating flam is, a downstroke flam, okay? We need to know what that is. And a right-hand flam. All right. Anyway, for example, I just want to give you what's coming either tomorrow or Thursday. If you took page 1 of stick control book, page 5 rather, and we thought of the first line, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, and I said, okay, on every downbeat, put a flam. So on every downbeat here, it's a right hand, so it'd be 1 E and a. We do number 2, it'll be a left hand flam. Line 3. Ah. See where I'm going with that? Okay, that's what we're going to be working with come this one day this week. All right, right now we're on page 10. I could go to the triplets, but I'd rather stay on page 10. Now, if you notice the way he writes, if you look at line 1, the first part, 1 and 2 in, you see it's the same sticking pattern as line 1 on page 5. You look at line 2, same sticking pattern as it is on line 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, there's a couple things I'd like you to do here. We're gonna do it slow. And when we do it slow, And I'm going to say a half stroke position, okay, instead of being up here like this. It's best to do it to loosen up like so. But, you know, there's an illusion that occurs here, and there's a misinterpretation. What is with my stance? Oh, good Lord. Hold on, gentlemen. Okay. Now, there's an illusion. You know what the seesaw method is, this here. That's the illusion that's going to occur. I don't use the seesaw method. If I take this at a slow tempo, what I want to do is, before I make each stroke, I want the stroke to be back in position. If I'm in the half stroke position, I'm like this. So if I did the first line, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. You see how the sticks come back? 1 E and a, 2 E and 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 and 3, 4. Now at slow tempos, you have time to wait. How you doing, Pete? I mean, Pete. You have time to wait for that stick to come back. If you're up tempo, now let me know if you could hear the metronome. If you can't hear this metronome, I'm going to put it through the system tonight. Right now, it has to stay here. Can we hear the metronome, gentlemen? Now I'm going to do page 10, line 1. Now here's where the illusion comes in. Now there's the illusion of the seesaw. Okay. You have, and that's where, I don't know, there's no seesaw happening. This is happening and this is happening, but in two different places. So that's why we do a vamp, for example. If I do a vamp, 1 and 2 and I add the E and the duh, it does look like I'm going like this, because I don't, at a faster tempo, I don't have time to wait for the stick to go up. This is happening with the left, this is happening with the right, but in two different places. Do we understand that? All right. Now, that takes care, I'm going to turn the metronome down to 120. That takes care of line 1. 1 and 2 and... We're going to go to line 2 now, just the reverse. It's giving your left hand some work to do here. The left hand lead. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, with the left. Now we're not trying to be speed demons here. We're just trying to develop it. Line 3, and you see the sequence. It's the same as page 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So on and so forth. And I could do all 12. I'd rather move over to line 13. Now, what happens with line 13, I'm playing the same as I played line 1, but I'm eliminating 1/16. And when I eliminate the 1/16, okay, it becomes a 7-stroke rough. Now today's market's a single 7, whatever the hell that is, but it's a 7-stroke rough. So I have now 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and. Now I ended with the right, I'm going to begin with the right. And that's where, I don't know if you gentlemen are familiar with this, the straight system. You ever hear that system? All downbeats were with the right hand, all offbeats were with the left. Have we ever heard of that system, the straight system? All right, we're back to line 13. 1 and 2 and. And remember, we need to get that right hand and left hand sounding equal. Okay? Oh, gentlemen, Come March, there's going to be a 3-day drum camp here at my studio. 4 people only. Okay, I only can handle 4 people. Unless I get more than that, then I have to do a 2 weekend. But you know the straight system. I looked at that system. I opened up the book, did a few things, and I said, well, this is ridiculous. It don't make any sense. Yeah, the straight system. What do you think of the straight system, gentlemen, Pete and Ed? Now, does everybody understand how to do number 10, page 10, the right side and the left side? Because where I want to go now is to page 13. And there's a couple different ways I'd like to do this. Well, here, let me explain what the straight system is. It's a system that was put out and it doesn't go anywhere. It's not really, I don't know, I don't really abide by it, but I was curious because I purchased the book, the straight system. If I'm playing, for example, 2/16 and an eighth, okay, that's 1 E end. If I'm starting my right, 1 E end, and if I'm playing 1 E end, 2 E end, 3 E end, 4 E end, it would be starting with the right all the time. Do we understand that? If I went 1, an eighth note, and then 2/16, yeah, it is. It is definitely a right-hand lead system. One-sided, you got 10. What is 10? Oh, you got page, all right. Let's go to page 13. Okay. Now, it's called short, short roll combinations, okay? And it's a 4-measure increment. Now, I'm not playing it in cut time. I'm playing in 4/4. I'm playing 1 and 2 and 3 and the 4 and the. So it's a 4-measure increment. So I have, and I'm going to do it slow. 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. Last measure. 4 E and a 1, 2, 3. Back to the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what is this? Yeah, well, I don't know who taught you the straight system because I guess that's all they know. But look at the stick control book, 72 attack systems, right there, Pete. I can't say it's right or it's wrong. If that's what you were taught, you know, that's pretty, in my opinion, shallow. You know, today in today's market, I mean, you know, I started playing in the '60s, and that's a long time ago, man. And drumming is the same as it is today. You play to the music. You have a pocket, you have a groove, all right? And there was a lot of pioneers playing right-handed and left-handed lead, you know, so on and so forth. This drum set has changed. Instead of 4 pieces, now you got 6 pieces, 7 pieces, 8 pieces, double bass drums. The music has changed, the rap has changed, the terminology is changing all the time. But, you know, the straight system, it's not a natural system, most definitely not. The only natural system there is the stick control book. It's a natural approach to drumming that utilizes, well, the stick control utilizes both hands, the right hand and the left hand. If you apply it to the feet, it also, you know, you work with the right foot and the left foot as well. So you're working with all 4 limbs. I've come up with a tremendous amount of ways to do this. And it's only because of, you know, I'm a lunatic, I guess. I mean, I get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Look at this. All right. There's a comment here, and I want to talk about that. Okay. You know, what you learned is not wrong. It's something you learned. So you be the judge of whether it helps you or doesn't help you, or you want to go to another area that would help you. I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't play the straight system, and you said orchestrational drumming. Yeah, okay, I could agree. I mean, you know, you have a chart, you're playing with a high school band, you're playing with a symphony band, and yeah, everybody kind of leads the right side because it's uniform. But look at a drum line from a drum corps, which is totally a different kind of drumming. It's field drumming. And there's a language to it, like the 5-stroke roll, the 7-stroke roll, the Radamacute, and then they have the hybrid rudiments and all that. And it's both right-handed and left-handed. If you have the Buddy Rich book, and I met Henry Adler a few times, and you know, nothing wrong with Henry Adler. He was a commercialized teacher. Yeah, well, how about the left there, Ed? You know, now you have two small tom-toms on top, and now they're using a snare or a tom-tom on the left side as well. But we're doing open-handed drumming too. I'm not saying the straight system will not help. I mean, if you're going from the snare to the tom, you're going over like so. It's right. You know, I did a whole thing on turnarounds on the drum set. You know, if I was going onto the floor tom-tom and I was starting with my right, how am I going to move over to the snare? There has to be a turnaround, E. Whatever. We'll get into that tonight. These questions I like. The left hand doesn't get in the way of the right. We're going to address that tonight. If I was going from the floor tom-tom to the snare drum, and I started single strokes, one E-enda, on the floor tom-tom, how am I going to move over to the snare drum? Absolutely, that's a turnaround. The paradiddles are for turnarounds. That's what we went on. Good, Ed. Very good. Do you understand the conversation here, Pete, and other guys? Randy, Jim? We're going to address these issues tonight. Okay? But let me get back to page 13, number 1. Okay? Now, what I did was I played the line and I repeated it. It's not a seesaw, it's right-handed. It's right-handed. That's the right-hand lead. So I just continually repeat the line, repeat the line. So what I like to do after a while, and we're going to address the paradiddle, the turnaround. I'll do that for a while. Here, let me put it on 120. 1, 2. Last measure, back to the beginning. Back. That's the right-hand lead. Now, what I want to do besides that is I want to tag a vamp at the end of this 4-measure increment. So we're not going to play eighth notes as the vamp. We're going to play what we just played the last measure for 4 measures. Now, what I like to do with this is tag an accent on the first note of each measure. So I'm going to play the line. When I finish the line, I'm going to play another 4 measures. The 4 measures that I'm going to play is straight 16ths. That's going to be the vamp. Watch this. 1, 2. Now the vamp. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2. 3. Vamp. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. So on and so forth. You understand what I just did? I tagged the vamp on the end. And what I did with the vamp was I played a 4-measure vamp and went back to the line. So that's an 8-measure increment. And I'll do that for a while at a variety of tempos. Now, if you want to develop some endurance, I'm staying away from number 2 for a minute because I want to explain the procedure. What I do with line 2 after a while, I say I've been doing line 1 for the last 15, 20 minutes. And I'm at one tempo. Now you could, the slower tempo, the faster tempo, whichever you feel comfortable with is fine. What I want to do, you should have a timer. And what I normally do when I'm doing something like this is I'll do at say 120, I'll do the line with the vamp for 2 minutes. And then I go on to an endurance exercise. All right, and I'll explain to you what I mean by the endurance exercise. What I do though, is I'll set the timer for 5 minutes and 5 seconds, I get settled, and if I make a mistake, I start all over again. And in the beginning, I would start all over again a lot. So here's what I want to do. I don't have my timer. If I say, I don't want to play this for 5 minutes for you. I mean, you know, this is a lesson, and I'm not going to show you how I do it for 5 minutes. I'm going to explain to you how you should do it for 5 minutes. So I'm going to do it without a metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Vamp. 1, 2. Now I'll keep this going on for 3 minutes. Let me put it on the tempo here. 1, 2. Now, here you go. 1, 2. I'm going to do this for 3, 4 minutes. And once I play that for 3 or 4 minutes, I get a drink of water. I don't, you know, I let my hands loosen up a little bit. Now, we talked about the turnaround, the paradiddle. And if you're going to use, Ed, if you're going to use a paradiddle on the right, left, right, and you're going to move to the snare drum, but you're right-sided, that's not good. I'll explain that later on. Anyway, let's talk about that turnaround. Because what I like to do is do line 1 and line 2 without stopping. Well, I'm having, see you guys, all right, well, what happens, all right, the question is, why do I add the vamp? Well, you know, I want to develop single strokes, and that's the object of the line. So if I play the 4-measure increment, it's, you know, not shallow, but it's there as an exercise. Now, one of the biggest reasons that I did put a vamp on it was to extend the singles and go back to the beginning. Extend the singles, go back to the beginning. And the reason why I say I put a 3-minute vamp on it, or singles for 3 minutes, is to develop endurance. I mean, it's not there. It's something that I do. And it helps me strengthen my hands. Does that clarify it there, Pete? Now, the second line is a, come on, drum pad. The second line is a left-hand lead. Okay, so that's pretty simple. But now here comes the turnaround there, Ed. If I played line 1 with that last measure, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, and I want to go to line 2 without stopping or without breaking the flow of the rhythm and make it choppy, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to add on the 4 E and a paradiddle. And that takes me right to my left-hand lead, smooth. 1, E, and 2, 3, 4, E, and 1. You see how it worked? It's just to develop. It's not there, Pete. The thing is, it's something I've not created. It's something I learned. I've done that with Morello. That guy's a monster. He's taking tempos at 250 and holding single strokes out for 3 minutes. I mean, that's, to me, woof. That brings old age on quick. God bless him, though, man. He can play. He has some set of chops. I've never seen a man with a set of chops like that. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it was Buddy Rich or Gene Krupa, whoever. That man had the chops. He had the technique. And like I said, when I seen Vinny Cayuta, I said, man, what are you studying with him for? He goes, what are you kidding? That's the man. And he is the man. Okay, we understand that. Now I'm gonna go a little further with this tonight. I'm gonna stay on some of these pages, and we're gonna work in the workbook as well. Okay, we're gonna do one of the patterns, and you guys think about which patterns, if you're practicing now, think about which ones you want to work on. I could move around with 2, and we'll do this with the drum set application. Okay. That's like if I want to do single strokes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and on the floor tom-tom, and go back to continue to do single strokes on the snare drum, I have to have a left-hand lead there. And that left-hand lead, to get there clean, would have to be on 4 E and a right-hand paradiddle to move to the snare drum. Do we understand that explanation? You see, another thing to why you play, you know, when I'm doing a stick control book, for example, page 5, and whatever hand I am with it, I vamp with. If I go like this, that's a vamp. 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and why vamp? Well, why vamp here? That's half a single stroke roll. You know, what's going to happen when I have Alan Herman and I have Jeffrey Johnson and Steve Forrester here, we're going to show thank you, Ed. I'm going to show you what we used to do while we waited for our lesson. There was like a practice room and the studio. And we would play, say this line, this page, 12. And we'd have 2 drum pads. And I would play for example, my right hand on the snare, on the drum pad, and my left hand on the a silencer, I guess, on my leg. And then the other student, whoever I was hanging out with, having fun with, would take that and reverse it. It would go 1, and we see how clean we can make it. And it was a little bit of a challenge until we had a lot of fun with that. And that was waiting for Morello. See, when you went for Morello, it wasn't like a music store. It wasn't a lesson. Well, I'm booked in from 10 to 11. If you were, personally, you never do a lesson at 10 o'clock in the morning, say 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you were hanging out, you're taking your lesson. A lesson would sometimes actually no. Wait a minute, Pete, I'll address that. What happens, his lessons would actually last for 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 hours. Now, the question is, turn around on line 7 to 8. Now, what we're talking about 7 to 8, what page are we talking about there, Peter? What page? 3 rights, number 7. All right, that's, I guess, let me see. What page, Pete? 7. Page 13, 7 and 8. Well, we're not going to use a turnaround there because you have time. That last note is out. You don't need a turnaround. If I did the last measure of line 7, I'd have 1 E and a 2 E and 2 E. Line 7 is doubles. I'm sorry. 1 and 2 and. I'm up in the air now. I have time. Line 8. You have time. The object of the turnaround is to make the transition smooth. I like to do 1 measure of single strokes, right-handed, 1 measure of single strokes, left-handed, back and forth. I don't know. You have time. You don't need a paradiddle there. You have a blank note there on the duh of the 4. But if I'm doing single strokes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. I did a whole lesson on that a couple times in the stick control book as a formula. But you don't need to make the turnaround there because you have that blank note on the duh. You have time to maneuver. It's not tied into the next note. Yes, if you had 2 lefts, all right, for example, if you did line 7 and you extended line 7, the last measure of line 7 would be 3 E and the 4 E, and I put an extra note, and the. Now I'm in trouble here. It would be 4 E and the 1. It's hard to explain, and I will try to do a better understanding. A better explanation of that. Okay. Do you guys like the drum pad lessons too, as well as the drum set applications? Because tonight we're going to be on a drum set. Hopefully I can set all my cameras up and we'll take some fancy-dancy views, okay? Any questions before I leave? Are you enjoying the drum pad lesson? Okay, good. You know what happens when, you guys, most of you guys are aware of what I'm on Facebook. I have all those art of drumming groups. I get some wise asses all the time. And I said, what kind of drum pad do you use? I don't use a drum pad. I don't play on a drum pad. I play on a drum set. Okay, so we'll do some more. We'll do, during the 1 p.m. lesson, we'll do the drum pad. Now, remember, that one day this week, I'm going to try and get a PDF on the flams and the flam diddles. I'm going to try to work them out for you. I just been so overwhelmed and backed up here, which is a good thing. Oh boy. Hey, Peter, did you want to purchase the workbook? If you want to purchase the workbook, I believe I have some email by you that I didn't answer. I apologize. But if you want to purchase the book, we'll talk about that. Okay, anyway, it's time for me to sign off, and I will be back tonight at 7 p.m.